Herb Vincent, who is a friend of the show, a graduate of LSU, and, of course, the Associate Commissioner of the Southeastern Conference, is joining us here on OTB this morning. Herb, good morning. Thank you for your time.
Good morning. How you doing, guys?
Doing good. I know that that was a tough decision to make for the conference yesterday, but when you look around and what's happening to the world, at what point did you guys come to the conclusion that that was ultimately going to be made?
I think probably when we started seeing the CDC warnings of reducing gatherings of people to 50 people, then the White House saying their advisory was 10 people. It was pretty inevitable. I think it was probably heading in that direction even as early as over the weekend, just because things were changing so drastically and the forecast for this becoming more critical. These things, you have to gather your presidents and chancellors to discuss and take a vote, and those are very busy people, so sometimes it takes a little longer to get them around. So I think probably people would come to the decision or come to the conclusion that we couldn't play any more competition the rest of this year earlier than yesterday, but yesterday was the opportunity to take action on it and make the final announcement.
Herb, in a time that so many things are unprecedented, in an organization like yours that's so large and affects so many people, is there a blueprint? Is there a reference point for you guys in waters that have been uncharted?
No, I don't think there's any blueprint for any of this, except that you have good people in good positions for good reasons. And we have a tremendous collection of athletics directors in this league, a great collection of presidents and chancellors. I think we have a great leader, Greg Sankey, and when you put all those people, those minds together, and make good decisions. So we were real fortunate. If there's anything good that has come out of this, any fortunate developments, it was probably last Wednesday when this really started to heat up. And it, by coincidence, I guess, we had all of our athletics directors in one room together. It's an annual meeting during the men's basketball tournament. And we had a lot of pretty weighty issues on the agenda. Coronavirus was one of them, but name, image, and likeness was another one, and that was going to take up a lot of the conversation on that day, and some other issues. But we were sitting around the table in real time watching our Twitter feeds and seeing the news break and seeing the more dire predictions. And at one point, the commissioner put down his phone. He said, "All right, let's just scrap our agenda for today and let's talk about this." And so we were able to, the people in that room were able to put their heads together and kind of look forward to what was taking place and start making some decisions. And so we were fortunate from that. And so, no, I don't think it was a blueprint, but when you have some good people making some good decisions, I think you get to the right place.
Yeah, we're talking to Herb Vincent, SEC Associate Commissioner here on Off the Bench, 94.7, 100.3, 104.5 ESPN. It was interesting, Herb, when the news first broke, even Commissioner Sankey seemed a bit taken, well, maybe not taken aback, but he was a bit surprised, right, that they'd already gone ahead and canceled things in June when we were here at the forefront of this. As you said, fluid situation, it's moving constantly. At what point did y'all realize, okay, it's got to get more serious than this? And then what because a lot of people have asked those same questions. Why are we canceling things in June when it's March right now? Like, well, what's the explanation behind those cancellations?
Well, we were surprised by the cancellation going all the way out to the College World Series, and I don't know that we have a reason that has been given for that yet. We were taking it kind of step by step. At that point, we were still in Nashville, and we had agreed we would suspend all activities until March 30th, and then look from there. It was shortly after that we extended it to April 15th. Even now, although we've canceled the rest of the season for contests, we have opened the possibility on April 15th that maybe our student athletes could get back to practice. I don't know if that's reasonable or not, but it's a date, that we're looking at and an opportunity. We were surprised that the NCAA decided to shut it down all the way through the end of the College World Series. I don't think the commissioner has questioned necessarily the decisions of the NCAA. I think he was a little disturbed by the lack of information, the underlying information that led to that decision.
How would that happen? So you mentioned that April 15th date. Let's say everything, super optimistically that happens student athletes are allowed to return. Are there any restrictions about student athletes competing in competitions when a non-student athlete isn't even allowed on campus?
Well, April 15th, the date, and we don't know what's going to happen. I think we have to have some conversations about what that means and if that's even feasible. So I couldn't project out on whether that's even possible for that to happen. It's just a date that we've established. I think some of that more than practice. I think we'll have these conversations, but I think some of it more than practice, as people perceive as going out and having football practice, is that a date that we could let our student athletes come back in the weight room and start to condition? Is it a date that pitchers could go out and throw the ball and just get going? I don't know what it means really, because it's hard to know what any of this means. There really is just a date right now, and we'll continue to talk about that. I think we're March 18th right now, so we have nearly a month, and so that date could very well change, and it could be that the entire spring would be shut down for practices. We just don't know right now, so I don't want to try to predict what's going to happen.
Herb Vincent, SEC Associate Commissioner, joining us here, ESPN, Baton Rouge, New Orleans, and Alexandria. Have the discussions already begun in your office about the potential of what could happen to football season?
No, that's probably too far down the line right now to start thinking about that. We do have regular calls with our athletics directors, and so we're taking it step by step. Yesterday, the conversation was about competition for the rest of this year, and we decided it was best to discontinue that, which includes the discontinuation of our championship events as well. And so we'll take it step by step and see where it goes from that. And every day, we, like everybody else in the world, gets more information and maybe a little bit more clarity about this virus. And I think that'll guide our decisions. But I think we'll make decisions about football when we have to make decisions about football.
Herb, what was the league's office reaction to the NCAA granting another year of eligibility to student athletes here in spring sports?
I think in general, it's a great opportunity for student athletes. I mean, think about the young people who have lost an entire year of their college careers. And, most of these student athletes don't go pro. We always talk about that. Most of them don't. And so most of them, this is what they have. This is their college career.
Yeah.
There's so many things to talk through on that, and I don't have any answers to them. And I think those are the things that smart people will get in a room and figure out, because if you give a senior another year, then the junior who's behind them who anticipated taking that senior's place next year, what happens to that person?
Yeah,
and then what happens when you have actually now 5 classes with red shirts, almost like 6 classes of student athletes, and you've got some scholarship limitations, and you've got squad size limits. How do you manage all that, and what kind of adjustments need to be made? Baseball is the greatest example, probably, of that, of having a lot of people on your roster and trying to figure out how you're going to manage that with 11.7 scholarships. Is the NCAA going to allow for more scholarships? Those are questions that have to be answered, but we just don't have all the answers right now.
Are you guys privy to the communication in Indianapolis? Has that even begun?
Well, there's committees. For instance,
right.
There's a Division I baseball committee that meets and will make recommendations. They'll have a meeting this week. We had a conference call of our baseball coaches this week, so they could have discussions and be able to feed in their opinions and their thoughts to the baseball committee, which the baseball committee feeds into a bigger governance structure. So, things are moving. I don't know how fast they're moving, but there is input, and we'll get input back as time goes by.
Herb, we always appreciate your insight. It's always great to catch up with an LSU grad. Take your SEC hat off for the last question. What do you think about LSU's 2019 football season?
Yeah.
Oh, it's fabulous, fabulous. I was lucky enough that over the course of the season, I think I got to 6 games. I know I went to a Texas game, Alabama game. I forgot what other regular season game I went to. Then I caught the, of course, SEC championship, and then the Peach Bowl and national championship. But what a ride! It was unbelievable. It was fun. We've got 2 other folks in our SEC office, Lauren Taylor and Corey Dalen, who are LSU grads, and so we had a special time after that championship game.
Yeah, shout out to Corey and Herb. Got to see him on the field after all those games. Very fun.
Herb, it's great to talk to you. Thank you for jumping on with us this morning in what I know is a very busy time.
Yep, talk to you guys. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
There is Associate Commissioner of the SEC, Herb Vincent, checking in this morning here on ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, and Alexandria.